most of us are never going to be able to afford to have all of these assets to have responsibility over. So what is your advice beyond banal comments like clean your room?
So why don't you try reformulating that so that there's an actual question there?
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G. Snoop Dogg.
I want to know, what is your answer to young people for some of the really big problems facing humanity, like the climate catastrophe, like economic crisis, like the precarious job market? Because they just don't, like, you talk all this much about individual responsibility. Most of us are never going to be able to afford to have all of these assets to have responsibility over. So what is your advice beyond banal comments like clean your room?
Well, it's actually rather difficult to answer a question that ends with your comments are banal politely.
True.
So, I would consider that more of an opinionated personal and political statement than actually a question. So why don't you try reformulating that so that there's an actual question there?
What is your
That's fair.
So what is your advice to young people when you talk about you need to be individually responsible, but when there are things that are so far out of our control, like climate catastrophe, like the precarious job economy, like the economic crisis?
Out of your control as you think.
What is your answer to
Do you think that you're worse off than
questions?
your grandparents?
I think there are different challenges.
Do you think you're worse off than your grandparents?
Answer the question.
I think that
Jordan, once again, we're not going to cross-examine our questioners. So
What?
try answering the question about collective responsibility on climate change, for example. Pick one part of that, because the argument, I think, is that individual responsibility does not change the climate, does not fix the problem that needs global collective responsibility. So I think that's the core of the question. Do you have a theory about that?
Well, fundamentally, I'm a psychologist, and my experience has been that people can do a tremendous amount of good for themselves and for the people who are immediately around them by looking to their own inadequacies and their own flaws and the things that they're not doing in their lives, and starting to build themselves up as more powerful individuals. And if they're capable of doing that, and then they're capable of expanding their career. And if they're capable of expanding their career and their competence, then they're capable of taking their place in the community as effective leaders. And then they're capable of making wise decisions instead of unwise decisions when it comes to making collective political decisions. I'm not suggesting...
All right, really quick before he keeps going. So basically, what he's saying is start from the ground and then move your way up. That's it. That's all he's saying. From an individual level, if you work on yourself, if you are the best version of yourself, then you can go out into the world and then you can actually probably contribute to these causes that you want, to contribute to. And honestly, that's a basic message. That's a basic message. Of the fact that people need to hear this is kind of surprising to me. The fact that people need to hear that, hey, if you work on yourself first, if you, build yourself up, if you actually, get accolades, build your competency, like he just said, be competent. The fact that that needs to be said, I think that says a lot more about the world that we live in than, just Dr. Jordan Peterson having to say it in the first place. But let's keep going.
In the least, and have never suggested that there's no domain for social action. I'm suggesting that people who don't have their own houses in order should be very careful before they go about reorganizing the world, which happens in many ways.
That's very true.
Can I just to, if a young person believes that the climate, the global warming problem on the climate is something that needs to be tackled quickly, and they can't wait until they grow up and become prime ministers to do it, do you think collective responsibility overrides individual responsibility in a huge issue like that?
No.
No.
Okay.
I don't. Okay. I think generally people have things that are more within their personal purview that are more difficult to deal with and that they're avoiding, and that generally the way they avoid them is by adopting pseudo moralistic stances on large scale social issues so that they look good to their friends and their neighbors. That's what it looks like.
So right there, Jordan Peterson hit the nail on the head. Why as individuals are we focusing on collective activism when we should be focusing on ourselves first? Who makes the collective, like, the collective think that they're talking about? Who makes that stuff? Individuals. So if you work on the individuals and the individuals are their best, then you can all come into a collective and make decisions. I don't understand why she didn't get his logic. It looked like she was lost there at the end. I don't understand. But with that being said, my name is Jay Dottie. If you like the video, like and subscribe. Peace.